Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Beda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyaptadeyaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham Om. Okay, welcome. Happy New Year. Sundari's daughter made a quote. You've probably seen it in the chat box, but I'll read it for those of you who haven't had a chance to. She said, "It's not what you do between Christmas and New Year that matters. It's what you do between New Year and Christmas that does." So, it's really easy to make a resolution and saying you're going for moksha and you want freedom and all that sort of thing. But, and you do, particularly when you hear Vedanta, at the first you do. But Vedanta should start a new chapter in your life, start a new life, actually. And your life should be centered around the teaching, not the teaching centered around your life. If your life is centered around the teaching, then that's the most important thing to you, the teaching, and your life needs to conform with the teaching. If it's the other way around, then what? Then you're going to cut corners and you're going to compromise on the teaching side. To what? To maintain your likes and dislikes, your preferences, and so forth and so on. So the topic tonight is we're going to go back just to basic. Since it's a new year, let's pretend that we're just born. We're brand new, fresh new human beings, and we're going to go, and all we've got is our basic rudimentary psychology that we inherited from God, Ishvara, whatever, from the world, from evolution. There's billions, trillions of years of evolution have happened. Material evolution has happened before we got lives, before we got a body and mind, before consciousness was able to establish itself in a body and mind. Think about it. If there's a body and if there's a consciousness is there, a jiva with karma, let's call that consciousness, a jiva with karma, sentient beings, and there's no world, then how is that jiva going to work out its karma? It's not going to work out its karma. The creation doesn't start till what? Till the whole thing is complete. The whole creation is complete. And this view, this statement from Vedanta is in harmony with modern science, which says that life didn't happen till billions of years, till what? Till the material basis for life was established. And when it was established, then jivas appeared. And that jiva, that rudimentary jiva, is still here. It's still in us. It's still operating. You can't erase everything that's happened in the past. Everything in the present is built upon the past. So the past, not your personal past, not my personal past or your personal past, but the past is operating right now in the present, right back to the beginning of time. And so what does that prototypical jiva look like, that little homunculus jiva that's hidden deep within yourself? What does it look like? It has a what's its psyche? That is the psyche. The jiva is a psyche. It means a psychological entity. Before it's a psychological entity, it has a psyche. See how we keep reducing everything down to the basics here? Vedanta. And that psyche is made up of two powers. Three powers, but for tonight, we're going to talk about two powers. What is that psyche made out of? Rajas and tamas. And what does that mean? Rajas and tamas. What is rajas? Rajas is projecting power, and tamas is denial, concealing power. The psyche has the power to conceal things from itself and subsequently to project things outside itself on objects. So this is the basic building blocks of every single person's psychology, and it's operating in you all the time, all the time you're awake in the waking state. It's just going on. And there's nothing right with it, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's just something, it's just something to be understood or known so that you can manage these two powers. Right? This is called yoga. Yoga is mind management, i.e., managing your psyche, managing these tendencies to what? To hide things that you don't want and don't like, and to take those things that you don't like and ascribe them or attribute them to what? Something or somebody else. I don't think you don't do it. You can think you don't do it because you don't do it, but that means what? All that means is what? It's being done as you speak, and it has an impact on you. So whether you want to take responsibility for it or not, it doesn't matter. This is just happening all the time. And these two powers are basically what? The root cause of samsara, or suffering. The saving power, the power that gets us out of it, is the third power that appears with the creation, and that's sattva guna, and that's what? A revealing power. So that power reveals things as they are. So that Ishvara said, okay, we got this basic, we're going to give you this basic problem, but we're going to give you the solution along with it. Unfortunately, most people don't understand the value of sattva and the value of a solution. Or if they do, they get so conceited that they're so self-aware that they don't grow and they get stuck. But most everybody else is burdened by these two powers. And what are these? What's the practical manifestation of these two powers is conflict. Conflict, what kind of conflict? Conflict with other people. Now, mind you, when the creation starts, duality disappears. For the jiva is not born into non-duality. The jiva is non-dual, but when it's born, it becomes what? A dualistic entity, a split entity. We call it you could call it schizophrenic entity, but don't think of schizophrenia like the psychological community thinks of schizophrenia. I mean, schizo means a schism, a division. In reality, there are no divisions. Like if you get out in the outer space and you look at the planet Earth, you won't see a sign on this little patch that says America and another sign on another little patch, like you see on a map that says America and Europe or Australia down here in the corner or what. There's no divisions in the material world. There's no divisions anywhere, right? But duality is what? The power that makes divisions. It separates what? Things. Now, we're going to look at this and this is simple. Again, simple, but simple as you know. Those of you who've been around for a while know that simple's not easy. In fact, simple's hard because we're used to complicated. We fancy ourselves to be very advanced and complex and complicated and nuanced beings, evolved beings, higher. We're the roof and crown of things. We've evolved up to the top. No, we haven't. We're just simple beings. We have these three powers. They're operating us unconsciously, and they're producing problems, which is conflict. Nobody wants conflict. Nobody. Everybody is working 24/7 to get rid of conflict with others and with conflict within themselves. So when you criticize other people, I'm reminded of the teachings of Jesus said, first one that really made this abundantly clear was Jesus. There's a quotation of Jesus that says, he said, remove the splinter. The splinter is a little piece of wood. How does he say it? Let me see here. I forgot that quotation. He said, before you remove the splinter in another person's eye, in other words, before you see what the imperfections in another person, right? Take the log out of your own. Swami, huh? This is what critical people do. They say, well, what I know, I get this. People who actually seem to like me like to criticize me too behind this thing. They don't criticize me to my face generally because I don't put up with it. I just don't allow it. I mean, I listen. If there's merit, then maybe I'll have a conversation with them, but I just don't allow it. So, and most people know that. And somehow unconsciously they know that it's their own problem, but they don't want to admit that it's their problem. So they go and they complain to other people. and they try to see if other people have the same projection, similar like, or can provide them with ammunition to bolster their position that there's something wrong with what? Me. Okay, in this case, the object of their thoughts. That way what? Then that way I don't have to take responsibility for this issue. Right? I'm quite amazed at people who I feel very close with, and obviously feel close with me because they've been around for a long time, but who still like feel this need to like criticize me in their mind. Well, the problem with that is that you're not criticizing me. Vedanta says, and this is where the whole Vedanta teaching starts. That this is a non-dual reality. Now, non-dual reality means there's no schism, there's no divisions, there's no difference between you and me. Well, how hard is it? I mean, does it take a rocket scientist to figure out that when I say there's something wrong with you, what do I mean? There's something wrong with me. Now, how can you grow if you can't get past that notion that what? That there's something wrong with the world, or i.e. yourself. And that taking that position that there's something wrong with the world is what? Is the way you're what? You're injuring yourself. In other words, you're not what? You're not permitting yourself to grow, which is what? What you want. You need to, and you want to, and you're here to actualize yourself. But by consistently, steadily saying there's something wrong, well, it doesn't have to be me. I'm just using an example. What about blaming? One thing Europeans love to do is blame America for everything. Well, hey, yeah, America's a mess. Okay, fine, but Europe's a mess too. Europe's got its problems too. It should waste its time solving its problems, not solving Americans' problems. Because you can't solve, this is just a fact. You can't fix anybody else. You just get, why can't you do it? Think about this. See how all the logic is here, how simple it is and elegant it is? Because as Vedanta says, all beings, whatever they are, follow their nature. And then Krishna, who gives that message in the Gita, says, so what use is it what? Trying to control those people, make them behave a certain way. That's what you really want. You want them to behave in a way that conforms with your likes or your dislikes, so you're not disturbed. But they can't do that. Because what? They're trying to actualize their inner selves at the same time. And owing to the fact that in Maya, in other words, in the creation, no two people have exactly the same swabhava or swadharma. Swabhava means the name nature, and therefore what? Their swadharma, what they do, is different. I cannot fulfill your needs. I can't do it. And you can't fulfill mine. That's something I have to do myself. And the expectation that an object should take care of you is what? A projection based upon what? See, look at how this, see how elegantly and beautifully this all like folds back into the beginning? Based upon what? The idea that I'm not whole and complete. Right? Let's just argue it the other way. In other words, from the inside out. If I'm whole and complete, will I what? Project anything on you? No, because I don't need anything. If you're whole and complete, you don't need anything. So what's the solution to this problem? Well, the rudimentary or basic solution to the problem is karma yoga. That's a simple, not easy again, but a simple solution.
Hi, Brendan. How are you?
Was that? I don't know. I don't know if that was a question or not. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Okay.
I did. Then if I'm using everybody when I mute Ramji.
Oh, yeah. So yeah. So if we mute you guys.
Just say and Dave. It's okay.
Yeah, and please mute yourself. Okay. Now I lost my. Oh yeah, let's argue it the other way. Let's back up to what I just was saying. I said, if I'm whole and complete, I won't think of blaming you for my problems, because I won't have any problems. Right? All problems come from this one simple belief. Not from a fact. The fact is what? There's no difference. The fact is you're whole and complete. There's no incompleteness in the self. As the self, there's no completeness. It's only when you take yourself to be something other than the self, see the duality, how it comes in? That what? You need to what? Feel that you need to believe that an object can complete you, because what? You've surrendered your what? Your knowledge of yourself as what? A whole and complete being. And that knowledge that you're a whole and complete being, you already know. See, if you didn't know it, we couldn't teach you. If you didn't know it, or again, deep within, down in that prototype level, that little homunculus entity way down deep inside you, if that little entity didn't know it, then it's impossible for us to teach you, but it does know it. And when it hears this wonderful, beautiful, elegant, simple teaching, what happens? It wakes up. Oh, wow. And it starts to feel really good and really happy because its ignorance about its nature is removed, and it starts to contemplate the implications of that knowledge. What are the implications? A magical, beautiful life, an amazing, interesting life, a life that's growing and changing and flowering and moving. That stuckness that comes when you cut things up, that put a barrier, a wall. Maya's just a wall. I'm still working on my book, The Wall. Incidentally, I'm thinking about it every day, and I'm refining the ideas and adding little things here and there, but it's not quite finished yet. But so one fine day it will come out by the grace of Ishwar. So when I have a wall, I got to figure out how to jump over it or pass through it or dismiss it somehow, so that I can keep moving on my path. This moksha is for the jiva. It's freedom from the jiva, from the individuality, the sense of duality or separation. but it's also at the same time freedom. Did I say freedom for? It's freedom for the jiva. It's freedom from the jiva, and what? It's simultaneously freedom for the jiva. In other words, there's no difference between one thing and another, between the subject and the object, between where I'm going and where I am. Okay. I have another really good satsang. There was a good satsang I posted yesterday that you really need to read, and I'll post another one tomorrow. I just finished it today. This gets in a more nuanced level, like we're doing tonight with this teaching. So, how do I implement this program? Well, you all probably are familiar with Byron Katie. Byron Katie made actually a very valuable, well, let's say Ishwara through functioning as Byron Katie at a certain point, made a very useful, valuable contribution to the larger spiritual world when she articulated this program, what they called what was it, 4 steps. And the idea is very simple, right? It was like turning around when you see yourself projecting and you say there's something right or wrong with an object. Basically, it's negative. It's when you think there's something wrong with an object, or when you think there's something right. Because to say something's right with an object is to imply that something's wrong with it. And to say something's wrong with it implies that something's right with it too. So it doesn't matter which side of the equation you're working on. So when you do that, ask yourself if it's really true that what you see there belongs there, or does it belong here? She says, turn it around and say, well, who would I be without that thought that there's something right or wrong with you? Who would I be? Well, I mean, what's the answer? The coming answer is obvious. I'd be happy. Because the projection itself is what? Is a denial of my happiness. It's what? It's pushing my happiness away from myself. And I can't do that because the nature of myself is what? Happiness, wholeness, completeness, fullness. Don't get too hung up on the words. We can only go so far with words. And the rest of the way with the words, we got to let our mind go to the implied meaning of the words. The implied meaning is the ostensible meaning in the scripture, which is I'm whole and complete, which means I'm what? I'm happy. That's what Sat Chit Ananda means in Sanskrit. The self is Sat, it's my existence. You have no problem understanding that you exist. You have no problem understanding your consciousness. That's called Chit. And you do have a problem understanding you're complete. And for that little bit of understanding, then what? Vedanta comes and what? Removes your sense of incompleteness. It doesn't make you complete. It removes your sense of incompleteness. That's what I mean to say. Okay. So when you don't like someone or something, like an idea or a behavior or even just shallow, superficial things, you need to immediately understand that you don't like yourself or one of your qualities, right? So an appropriate, now, right? So that's a recap. Now the next point is, so an appropriate use of our free will is to what? Is to ask ourselves if what we are thinking, feeling, perceiving, belongs to us or to the object, and then to what? Offer. What do you do next? What would this be? Then to offer the criticism to Ishvara so we can get on with our lives. In other words, offer the criticism to Ishvara means what? Not blame yourself because what? Because Ishvara is ignorance of what? Of your wholeness, and you didn't solicit that ignorance. That ignorance is there at the beginning of the creation. And what is that? What is it called? That called karma yoga. And that's called karma yoga. Not blaming yourself. Now, to get to that point, you've got to take responsibility. You've got to remove the projection. You've put it out there and it's hanging on this hook, this convenient hook. Oh, I don't know if they've still got a problem with the or not. But suddenly when the came, everybody, these really disgruntled people, really unhappy people, had something to what? To put their dissatisfaction on. They had a chance to project it because they couldn't see that the problem was themselves. And that is a big, beautiful projection, because then that involves governments and rich people and da-di-da-di-da-di-da. And you can keep building more and more and more fantasy little castles on top of that idea, that one idea. And therefore what? Just continue to make yourself miserable. While at the same time, and this is the irony of this whole situation, feeling that you're very clever and that you've got the edge and that you know more and better than everybody else. In other words, continuing to deify your sense of separation. to think of it, they call it virtue signaling. You're trying to signal to those unvirtuous people, those stupid, dumb people, right, who don't think or feel like you do about a particular item, right? You need to make them feel, make yourself feel by making them feel that you are particularly wonderful and virtuous and good. And that there is actually something wrong with them. They call that gaslighting, I think. Isn't that right? Isn't it gaslighting? Trying to convince somebody that there's something wrong with them when there's nothing, when the thing is wrong with you.
Yeah.
And there's really nothing wrong with them. Yeah, gaslighting, it's yeah, anyway. Okay, so what does this karma yoga do then? What is it, if I can let go of this and say, it's not my fault, I don't need to feel guilty about this, I just need to own it. It's in the owning it that you get rid of it. By taking it and owning it, you've gotten rid of it. Understand? Now, I know that sounds perverse, but that's how you get rid of something, is by saying it belongs to me. And if it belongs to you, right, then what? That's fine. Then you've solved your the inner problem. You've actually removed your problem, and you've solved your outer problem, because you're not going to put yourself at odds with other people, i.e. yourself again, because there's no other people. So karma yoga, what does it do? It turns the mind inward. To me, in other words, Swamiji used to say like this. He said, he says, when you're pointing a finger at somebody, 3 of those fingers are pointing back at you. You don't, you got those, you see those signs where they're like that, and you don't really think about that. All your attention goes here, and you're in denial. You don't notice these 3. You may notice them, but you don't give them any significance. This is the this is the important finger. This is the one that, this is the duality finger. And this is the one that says there's something wrong with you. But actually, there's three things wrong with you or more, who knows, whatever it is. Oh, three just are one thing. What is that you don't want to face yourself and be honest with yourself and say it's about me. So when you do karma yoga, your mind gets subtle and you discover what? That the one with the problem is an object. Oh, yes, you knew it was an object, but you didn't really know that the one who was projecting and denying was an object. You thought that was you. In other words, it objectifies the created or born entity. It objectifies the jiva. And when that happens, and that when that happens, that's called moksha. You've become free of the jiva. Understand? You've turned it into an object. And you can see when that happens, what? That object does not change the seer, the subject. In other words, the object, the jiva, is mithya, and I, the subject, I'm satya. I am what's real, and what? And even though that object seems to be real, it's not actually, it's as good as not there or not real, because it doesn't what? It doesn't change me in any way. Understand? So, if you want to grow, then from today onward, keep this satsang in mind. Listen to it. I kept it short and sweet. I'm not going to go on any more about this. I kept it short and sweet so you can listen to it and just memorize this logic. And at every stage, give your assent, give your support to that object. Say, yes, that's right. That really makes sense. That's the truth. Not what I think and feel. Understand? Because the big problem is what? I believe what I think and I believe what I feel. And Vedanta is what? Taking the scripture's point of view as your own. Because the scripture is what? Just a snapshot, a picture of reality. And then what? I become reality. And everything else what? Is what? First of all, apparently real. And then when you think a little more, there's one more step. When you think a little more, then what? You see that the mithya is actually satya. So the whole idea of discriminating disappears. And what? And then what? Well, what would you say about yourself then? If someone asked, you obviously wouldn't say anything about yourself, but if someone asked, you just say, I am, and leave it at that. Okay, good. So here we got one. Here's Mary. Here we got a comment, a question. I get pained when I hear in the news about some terrible things people do to others. Hard not to see it as real. Have to keep reminding myself, yes, you do. Right? Did you do some terrible things to others? Understand? You're not doing terrible things to others. Actually, you're doing a harm to yourself. Why? By what? By what? Generating the pain. Because by thinking about that problem there, which is, Ishwar is taking care of that, Mary. You're not over in Ukraine doing anything there. So you've got to assume that what behind this whole thing, this is a big help. This should be a big help. That this is not a malign universe. This is a benign universe. It's not a bad universe. The universe heals itself. That's because it's one entity. Like for instance, think of this, sweetheart. If you get a cut on this hand, will this hand say, "Oh, I'm not going to fix that cut"? That's that hand. That's his problem. That's not my problem. I'm this hand. I got nothing to do with him. Right? See, understand? No, this hand immediately goes over here and cleans the wound and puts some stuff on it, gets an antibiotic cream, whatever it is, or goes to the doctor, whatever it has to be done. And, it lovingly takes care of that other hand. Why? Because that other hand is non-different from this hand. It's just all part of the same whole. So Ishwara is the total or the whole, and it's looking after everything. And you got to assume that Ishwara is doing its job. See, to take that worry and that pain and make it yours is to what? Actually insult Ishwara, because what? Because that's God's job, is to heal itself. The big picture. So a Vedanta person who's on this path is just, looks for the things that the injuries that I'm doing to myself and other people, and takes a stand in this knowledge. So, yeah, that's why I say this over and over and over again. It's simple, but it's not easy. It's hard, but hey, we're not meant to have an easy life necessarily. Life is life. It's not easy or hard if you know who you are. So, it's good that you're sensitive. On the other hand, don't be sensitive about things that are out of your control, and let Ishvara do its job. That thing will be sorted out over there. In fact, Ishvara is working on it now. If you actually read the situation, if you actually read behind the line and study the backstory that's going on, you'll see that there are a whole lot of things that are happening that are going to resolve that situation. It just, every single awful thing, Holocaust and everything from the Inquisition, when you go back through history and study it, all of those things have somehow been resolved. But the basic problem is going to keep going as long as the world is in ignorance. And so, unless you can figure out a way to lighten the world, this is why these fake gurus get so much traction, they get so much fame and power and wealth, is because they claim they've got a formula that's going to save the world, and they get other people to pony up the time and the money, whatever it is required, whatever they say is required to save the world. But nobody can save the world. You can save yourself, but you cannot save the world. The world is not unsaved. And it can be saved as in the time of a thought. That's the beautiful thing. You can heal your mind. This is jnana yoga. If you're qualified and you're really ready to let go of your duality, in the time of one thought, you can save the whole world. Because the whole world is what? Nothing but a thought in you. The pain that you experience when you think about the world is what? It's just a feeling, a thought, transitory thought in your mind at any time. So heal it. That's all. Damien, yes, Damien. If there's no joy in the object, there's also no blame in the object. Good point. Yeah. That's a good one. If there's no joy in the object, there's no blame in the object. The object is just yourself, the subject, which is nature, is joy or love, appearing as an object. That's what Maya does. Maya is a trickster. It takes something and puts it away from you. It puts the happiness away from you. It puts the unhappiness away from you. Right? So, good for you, Damien. Good thinking. Excellent, Anne. Yeah, good. That's right, Anne. Good for you. Yeah. She said, well, okay. Mary says she still has difficulty believing in Ishvara. Well, no, you don't believe. There's no belief in Ishvara. That's Christianity. That's ignorance. Beliefs are ignorance. So we're going to have to help you now with working on your definition of Ishvara. Tell me, Mary, what is your definition of Ishvara? We got it unmute? No, we're good. How do you define Ishvara?
Well, from what you said, it's a power that is a force in the world to keep it. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't even thinking about it.
No, it's not a force in the world. It is the world.
Okay.
Ishvara is everything that is. Now, okay, let's take your definition. A force, you would say an evil force in the world, right?
Iswara?
Huh?
No, I don't think Iswara is an evil force.
Well, then how do you account for the evil? How do you account for evil? We say Ishvara is beyond good and evil, but
okay.
How do you account for the evil in the world?
I think it's trying to adjust and to the disorganization of people's minds. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah.
She doesn't
No.
understand. That's her problem. She doesn't understand what Ishvara is.
Yeah. As soon as he says it's clear you don't understand Ishvara. Don't worry. We'll get you there.
Okay.
It's ignorance of Ishvara that's causing the problem. So the question is then, what is Ishvara? Ishvara is the sum total of everything that exists. All the good things and bad things and indifferent things, all the sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic things, right? It's the sum total of all those things. It's a good power. That's the sattva guna. Actually, it's the rajas, tamas, and sattva all have good aspects, and they all have negative aspects. Understand? So it's ignorance of the role of the total in your life that what is the problem.
Well,
And we're
ignorance
saying
kind of implies that you need to have a belief. And isn't a belief the opposite of ignorance?
well, okay, all right. Is the sun a belief? Do you believe that the sun is that a belief? The sun shining. Do you believe the sun shines, or do you know the sun shines?
Well, it is a concept on a certain level, to say that's the sun. I mean, like a baby, when they come into the world, they just experience, they don't think, oh, that's the sun,
Yeah, well, and they don't think there's anything wrong with the world either,
Mm-hmm.
do they?
No.
No, they don't. They learn to believe. They believe, they're taught. And now this is really good because we're really getting down to the nitty-gritty here. They don't know that what they're being taught is ignorance, is a belief. They're being taught that that they believe that what they're being taught is true and real. Because why? Because to survive, they have to trust their parents. So everybody's living in their beliefs, but you don't say, when you come up in the morning and you're standing with somebody and you say, I believe the sun is shining today. If you said that, what would your friend think? The sun is shining, it's blasting you all over the place. And you say, I believe the sun is shining. You don't say that. You say the sun is shining. And if you do say, I believe the sun is shining, it's taken as a kind of ironic joke, like, of course the sun is shining. Why? Because you can feel it. It's something that's direct and immediate that you can actually feel and experience. So, understand? So, so there's a difference between belief and knowledge.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You can apply this to any object. And now, as you pointed out, you rightly pointed out, all the objects are just thoughts in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you say the pain, when you say pain, then the pain thought is in your mind, right? You don't feel good with that thought. Do you believe you have pain, or do you actually experience pain?
I feel emotional pain.
Yeah, okay. It does physical, emotional, intellectual, it doesn't matter. Pain's pain. It has different, infinite varieties of pain. But you don't believe you have pain, emotional pain.
Right.
You actually experience emotional pain.
Yeah.
So is that a belief, or is that a belief, or is that real?
It's an experience. Yes.
Yeah, it's an experience, and is there a difference between the experience of it and the knowledge of it?
I think there is.
Yes, there is, but
Because
there's also
knowledge,
no difference. Why is it?
well, knowledge sort of implies the mind, but I think you mean it differently.
Yeah, knowledge, but experience implies the mind too, doesn't it?
Because the thought about the
Knowledge appears
experience
in the
comes
mind, and
afterward.
experience appears in the mind.
Oh, what was that again?
Knowledge appears in the mind. Knowledge is a phenomenon that happens in the mind, and experience is a phenomenon that happens in the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Pain.
Right.
So when you feel pain, you know you have pain. If you don't know you have pain, then you don't feel the pain. And you,
Okay.
and you don't feel the pain, you don't know you have the pain unless you feel the pain. So there's actually no difference between what you experience and what you know. Now, the question is what you experience and what you know, are those real? Is that real? No. The answer is no. Why? Because you don't always experience pain, do you? Because you don't always think about the misery that happened in the world somewhere else, or whatever, or even in your own circumstance. there are moments when you do not have emotional pain. Is that right?
Right.
So who are you then?
You just are.
That's right. And the are-ness or the isness is the same when you're having the emotional pain as when you're not having the emotional pain.
Mhm.
It's the seer or the knower of the emotional pain, the object.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, I'm going to put this up and listen to it again and think through it again, because I led you through it and you got it right. You worked it out. You gave the right answer every time. I mean, the truthful answer, the truth. You spoke the truth. Whereas before, without this logic, you were not making sense. But you're making perfect sense now. And I don't think nobody can argue with that. That's the beauty of Vedanta. So
Quite a few more questions now.
yeah, okay. We'll move on to the next one. Sundari,
Thank you.
just from my oh, here's Dominic. Okay, Dominic, good for you. Some projections, let's see what Dominic says. Some projections are easy to spot and let go of. Yeah, that's right. Others, not so much. Yes, there are. There is a hard, willful, stubborn part of myself. Yeah, Sundari calls that the Duryodhana factor. That's what the Gita talks, that character in the Bhagavad Gita that Arjuna has to kill, and that Arjuna has to destroy. That's called Duryodhana. The words are words durable, obdurate, duration. Duration means it persists over a long period. Obdurate means it's so hard. Obsidian is glass. It's very hard, but it's also brittle, right? And it's black. It's very interesting black glass made in the fire of under the earth in the caldera. The earth generates this black substance. It's called obsidian. In fact, the demon in my story, Wall's story, is called the demon and his things are called obs. They're obstructions. See the words? So anyway, so there's this hard, willful, stubborn part of myself that doesn't want to admit, see the denial? That does now, but obviously you're aware of it. Because you can't be saying that you cannot, there's no object without an awareful subject. So obviously you're aware of it. Good for you. And in fact, we had this issue, we had this talk about this, it was a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, on the Zoom, that doesn't want to admit that the issue lies with me. Yeah, it was your relatives, wasn't it? So usually when it's always, most always it's family, people that are close to you. Doesn't want to admit that the issue lies with me. Usually when it comes to others not behaving properly. Yeah, I had the same thing. I had this lovely people, they just loved me, and they came to visit one time, and I don't know, I think they thought I was enlightened or something, and they thought whatever that meant, weren't clear, and they thought, well, he's got to act different. He has to act special or something. So I just, acted like myself, which I was kind of foolish and kind of happy and dumb. And, I'm a clown. I say dumb things and do dumb things all the time, and I don't have a problem with it, but this people had a problem with it because I wasn't behaving like they thought I would behave. I had the problem with Alf recently in the seminar down in Bad Meinberg, who, you can't be enlightened. You think, you blah, 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 because I didn't conform to his idea of what an enlightened person was. But anyway, so you're right. So it comes when it comes to others not behaving properly, which is to say, in line with your expectations. Yeah, you expect people to behave the way you want them to behave. See the projection. Absolutely. It's painful and totally illegitimate to keep getting agitated by other beings just following their nature. Yeah. I'm just James. I was just being James. I had an interesting life, and I'm the kind of weird, quirky guy, and I like being weird and quirky. And obviously others do too, because there's always somebody around enjoying my weirdness. And so I'm supposed to feel bad about that and apologize that and try to be normal and behave like, like you want me to hold my spoon a certain way and hold my fork another way and do it, everything like that. And I did trim my beard, I tried to look kind of halfway decent, tonight for the thing. I went that far for you guys, but I was looking at Sundari's called me a woolly mammoth. I was a woolly mammoth until about a couple of hours ago. And I thought, okay, I'll de-woolify and de-mammify so I can appear in public, just to impress you guys with what a normal person I am. So we're just following our natures. Everybody's just being themselves. But I can't help that this is my initial reaction. No, you can't. That's what we mean by hardwired. It's just like, we got a fox with his foxes is coming to the house every day now. And its initial reaction is it doesn't trust. And when we put food, it actually take food out of our hand now. But as soon as it grabs that food, it looks around like this to make sure nobody's no other animals there. It's going to take the food away. It can't help it. That is built in. And that same reaction, that same fear is there in everybody. He says, am I going to lose what I got? I got to protect what I have. These are the thoughts, right? Fear of missing out and protecting myself. Oh, there's a raper robber behind every bush. It's thrilling, to be scared. People seem to love it in some ways. See how perverse the human race has become. Well, they actually can find the joy in fear, because there is joy in fear. Amusement parks and all that stuff. Anyway, so I'm grateful for seeing these things coming up. Correct, absolutely correct, because they are valuable lessons, signposts of where ignorance is still at play and where the knowledge needs to be applied. Yes, thanks so much for this excellent and timely satsang. You're welcome, Dominic. And thank you for summarizing this very elegantly, succinctly, and it's been very useful, I'm sure, for other people, but I couldn't have said it better myself. Okay, ThinkPad to everyone. Okay, ThinkPad. Yes, thank you for the satsang. What role does devotion play in inquiry? Devotion, this is called love of truth or love of Ishwar. Devotion is love of the truth. See, everything you do is backed by love, because love is your nature. But we don't call it devotion unless it's devotion for something beyond your own little world. So devotion to Ishwara is the first stage, is called karma yoga, where you worship the field of action as God, and you take what results come from the field as gifts from God. And the second stage is called jnana yoga or Vedanta, and there you worship the knowledge of God, the truth. Now, what we talked about tonight, projection and denial, and we didn't talk about the revealing power much. I mentioned the revealing power. When we talk about those three powers, the projection, denial, and revelation. Those, we talked about those three powers. We're what? We're talking about, we're giving you knowledge of God. And devotion is loving that knowledge. In others. Now, why would I love that knowledge? Because that knowledge, what is what's going to set me free. And we know that what? That you want freedom, because everything that you're doing is to remove a sense of limitation, to remove some obstacle or obstruction to your happiness. So devotion is absolutely essential. It's just another way to look at this whole teaching. You know, people say, well, you know, Vedanta, that's all intellectual. They say that because they don't want to use their intellects, but God gave us an intellect for a reason. We can either we can either use it to make ourselves miserable, or we can use it to set ourselves free. And Vedanta is for people who realize the value of the intellect that they've been given, and they're using it appropriately to what? To achieve their highest goal, which is always what? Freedom from limitation. So, you know, this is bhakti. We call it bhakti. It's Sanskrit words bhakti. It's a lovely word. I really like it better than devotion, because devotion in English doesn't contain the same nuance and same feeling that the word bhakti does. Bhakti means worship. And worship just means what? Loving or paying attention to something. Right? And and allowing that thing that you love or pay attention to reveal itself to you. So, okay. Jamie, the description of real and unreal is so well received. Thank you. And it's so simple yet painful as long as I think on the body. Yep. That's what Ramana says. You know, it's the teaching says, when you think of your body and your mind, then it's painful.
That's when the pain comes.
Pardon?
I can feel it. Just the pain of just being in the body, thinking I'm the body, is painful.
Yeah, it is painful.
And the freedom is knowing that I'm the knower of all that pain is freedom.
That's correct.
That's a great feeling.
Absolutely, you know, and so, yeah, you know, and a discriminating person just goes with the feeling that brings them the highest joy. And there's no higher joy than feeling free.
And it's so simple. That's the simplicity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, you know, you're doing good.
Well, I watch the mind all day long. I have all the time in the world to listen to it rant.
Yeah, everybody does, because that's all they're dealing with all day long anyway. It's just that, you know.
Exactly. You clarified it.
But I mean, you know, you're able to articulate this very well now, and you seem, you know, because it's been about a year now that you've been coming to this, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's funny because if you really pay attention, it's doing nothing but showing you examples in your daily life. That's what I'm starting to really see. And it's like, oh, no wonder I felt that pain. I just joined it. I created it, you know, I threw it out there and denied it. And, you know, it's
there
simple.
You go. Mary, I hope you're listening to that. Yeah, you're creating the pain by identifying with it. That's a thought that I didn't.
And that's what's been really coming lately to me as the examples is I'm just joining the pain. Why? Yeah. I'm not standing where Vedanta says that I am whole and complete. There's nothing wrong. Yeah. I keep joining in thinking I'm the problem, but I'm not.
No, you're not.
I'm creating the problem.
No, that's why yoga, yes, that's called yoga is what is non-creating. In other words, taking your attention, being creative with your attention, with your awareness, and putting it where it belongs, not where it's going to produce pain. If you understand there's an option to the pain, then you can put it where the joy is.
Right.
The pleasure and pain are woven fine. The joy and the sorrow are woven fine. They're you know, that that's like warp and woof in a fabric shirts or whatever it is. Fabrics are what? Some threads going this way and some threads going this way. That's what holds them together.
And I'm the real watching it.
And I'm the one that watches it. That's it. Good for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I love this.
You're welcome
was
for Jamie.
so simple. Thank you.
And Kevin, if consciousness is non-dual, then let's see here, Kevin. If consciousness, then Ishwara creates the villains as well. That's right. Ishwara creates the saints and Ishwara creates the villains. That's right.
And it's our job to realize that we are awareness, and it's okay. It's not our job to create or not create villains.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you can't actually, awareness doesn't create anything. Ignorance creates it.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
So, you know, this is why, you know, when Arjuna asked Krishna, what should I do? What's the right thing to do? He wants to know what's the right thing to do in this when he's emotionally troubled or conflict. He's really asking what's beyond right and wrong.
Right.
He's really, because so yeah, you just leave what leave to Ishwara what belongs to Ishwara, and and stay humble and just keep your mind on what is appropriate to you, to Jiva, to the individual. And Ishwara's got that whole big field under control. He's got the villains and he's got the good guys and the bad guys, and they're always warring with each other all the time. In fact, I forgot to tell you this story. I was going to start with this story and make it all cozy and funny. Maybe I'll do that next time. It was a story called Churning the Milky Ocean, as you'll notice at the top of the satsang. I thought I'd lead in with that, but obviously Ishwara had other. So what we'll do next time, next week, is we'll follow up with that story, just as an addendum to this satsang, because it's a lovely Puranic myth or story about how you need the negative stuff, because there's so much power locked up in the negative side of yourself. And the idea in Vedanta is to sublimate or transform that power into a positive spiritual force. And if those two things are working together, and not if you try to keep them apart, stay away from the ugly stuff. That doesn't work. You've got to cooperate with the ugly stuff and get your good self and your bad self, so to speak, working together. And when then all of your energy, that's called mumukshutva, or burning desire, then your burning desire for liberation can actually be actualized, because you're not avoiding the usage of all of this stored up energy, this anger and fear and stuff. Those are tremendously powerful forces in the human mind. So yeah, we'll kind of segue into that next week. And Fernando, yes, Ramji, could you explain how offering, surrendering negative judgments of others to Ishwara works in Karma Yoga? Is it a matter of trusting Ishwara's? Yes, it's a matter of trusting that Ishwara is doing his job. That's not my job. It's not my, because you can ask yourself like this too. I mean, this is jnana yoga, but you can't really separate jnana yoga from karma yoga. Is why am I making trouble for myself? As Jamie said, why am why do I need to invest this negative energy? In other words, she said, create it. Why am I creating this by thinking this way? Because just the very idea that there's something wrong, when you say there's something wrong, what feeling do you get? Do you feel happy? Now, never mind what the object is. There's something wrong with, let's just say X, whatever it is that is your problem, right? When you say there's something wrong with, or I don't like this, or he or she did this, how do you feel? Do you feel happy? Do you feel blissful? Do you feel loving, kind? No, you don't. Those words are just what? Those words are just ignorance, anger, right? Frustration, speaking. And karma yoga is desire and anger management. That's what it's. Because the reason, and we all, Swami P calls it burnout insurance. Burnout insurance means what? Is a person that's got all these desires and all these angers and fears, they eventually get burned out. They lose all their power. They get weak and lack resilience. They start getting sickly, have all sorts of problems. They start getting chemical problems, addictions, etc., so forth and so on. They start generating chemicals in the body. Anger generates emotional chemistry. Your thinking and your feelings generate your chemistry, and so those kind of thoughts start to what? Start to like pull you down. Right? Whereas like saying, God is good, God's got this under the control, it's none of my business. I just gotta need to what? To contribute to the world and do my part the best I can according to what I know, and not think about it. I trusting it is, offloading it or giving it to Ishwar. And then what? Then you see that what? The anger and the fear and all that stuff, the guilt, all that stuff starts to disappear, becomes less and less and less. And you start to feel a sense of purpose. And you see a smile on your face, and you see some radiance coming in your aura in the morning when you look in the mirror. You see a happy person, or a potentially happy person shining there, and you just keep at it. So, yeah, just let Ishwar do what Ishwar does, and let yourself do what you do, and do it in the right spirit, and you know, you're good to go. So, okay, so that looks like the end of it. Next week we'll just well, I just said what we'll talk about. I've already forgotten, but I can read the satsang and go from there. No, we'll explore it a little more deeply next time. Thanks, Ramji. This was a perfect way to start a new year. Yeah, it is a good way to start. So start thinking right now. That's your New Year's resolution. And you know, every day is a new day. When you wake up, every day is a new day, means a new year. So just wake up with this thought in your mind, and you know, do it. And what they say in the 12-step program, day at a time, year at a time, century at a time, whatever your concept of time is.
And also we'd like to thank people for those who did donate. There's been a good response. Not
Yeah.
everybody has, but people have donated.
Yeah, and Sundari pointed out, yes, that is. And we want to thank those of you who and many people did. You really did very well on donation. I didn't want to make you feel guilty, and I hope you didn't do it because you felt guilty. But if you did, that's good, because the guilt motivated you to do what's good for you, and what's good for the world, and good for me, because I'm happy, because at least I feel like, Jesus, maybe I'm making some difference in your life. Maybe I'm maybe what I might, if nobody's donating, I think, well, what the use of my flapping my gums for? What's the point? People just sitting there like logs. Are they just bored? And I'm just like an entertainer, or what is it? So it gives me a self-doubt, and I don't want that. So you've reinstated my faith in humanity.
And those who haven't donated.
And and those who haven't donated, please donate. Whatever you think is appropriate, and don't be chintzy. Okay, good. Thank you, Ramji. Thank you. Happy New Year to you and Sundari. Love you guys. Sarah, love you too, Sarah. Yeah.
See you next week.
And I know you, as I see your name is Sarah's on there now. Is that a special thing? Is that something new? Because before you weren't signed in as Sarah. Good. And see, fantastic, Ramji. Thanks you and Sundari. Mary, thank you. Eileen. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Ramji. Happy New Year. Thank blah blah blah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. I really needed to hear that satsang. Love you a lot. Hendrik. Oh yeah, Hendrik, good for you. Thanks, Ramji. Have a blessed New Year. It's good to have a reminder to donate. Yeah, it's good to have a reminder to donate. Yeah, keep it up. Again, everything is, this is just like a discipline. It's just like life is a discipline. It's a habit. And get good habits, happy habits, habits that make you happy and the world happy. Most happy New Year to you, my masters Ramji and Sundari. Okay, yes, indeed. Many thanks for a beautiful teaching, Bob. Oh yeah, Bob and Andrea. Thank you, Ramji. Best news. Oh my God, there's so many thank yous. Well, thank you for your thank yous. And we'll see you next week. Om. All right.